Adrian Peterson mentioned 3 teams for his next destination. I don't believe any of them are actually the Vikings. So it was Buccaneers, it was the Texans, it was the New York Giants. Texans, I guess he's from Houston, although Lamar Miller is really good. I don't get that one. He didn't mention the Cowboys, but they're kind of set at running back for the next, decade.
They've got a pretty good one.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Giants need a running back. Bucks seem to need a running back as well. But what's it like to hey, dude, you can at least fake it, but he didn't even fake it.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like I said, I didn't see the whole interview. You kind of.
I think he did say headline. He wanted to be back.
But his initial response was that he'd love to finish his career in Minnesota, and for us as teammates, that's what we hope for as well. I mean, anytime you have a surefire Hall of Famer, not only on your team but for us on our offense. You'd love to see him back.
He came back super, super early yet again. I don't know how this guy does it where he comes back from the ACL and he wins the MVP. This time he comes back way earlier than he was supposed to when you guys still had a outside shot at the playoffs. Does that earn your respect, or is that, hey, this is more about him and his future, the reason he's coming back?
You learn never to count Adrian out. The longer you're around him, he's a guy where, although all else may seem to be going against him, I think also in his interview he said he could play like 7 more years, and everyone looks at him like he's crazy because he's already over 30.
He is a little crazy. But like Frank Gore, I don't know, Frank Gore's never really had great speed. He tore both ACLs and he's still playing.
At a very high level.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of learn never to count him out or never to bet against him. So, you usually kind of take whatever Adrian says with a slight grain of salt. But in the back of your mind, you're always like, yeah, he's probably right. He's probably going to go do that.
Green Bay Packers turned the thing around from 4-6 to 10-6, get to the playoffs, get to the NFC Championship game. It's a team you played against twice. Where were they between the start of the year, the end of the year? Were they really that bad? Did they really that good? How did they turn this thing around?
Well, when you have arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the country, in the league, in the world.
Ever?
He gets hot like he did through that streak, and he said it all last week that he kind of went out on a limb saying that they're going to run the table, but he believed it and just needed to get everyone else to believe it. You got a shot, and that's one position in this league. If you've got somebody at the quarterback position playing at a high level, everybody else are kind of just pawns in the game. They kind of just fall in place.
If I gave you Matt Ryan, who had a great year, a great year, or Brady or Rodgers, and you can only pick one, who would you pick?
What's it for?
To win a game.
Just one game?
Win a game.
I think you have to go with Tom Brady. What he's done throughout his career. Now you're looking at a guy in Matt Ryan who's putting up numbers like Tom Brady did in his arguably best season ever in 2007. So if you have to pick one of those 3, obviously you go Tom just because of his career, but you're in pretty good hands regardless.
I'm watching at home. I watch football differently than Kyle Rudolph, Pro Bowl tight end. Okay? We watch, admittedly so, right? I'm a civilian in watching it. You're an expert. So, look, the whole thing with Tom Brady is you got to force him off his spot. Right? Yeah. That's what happened the week before. They forced him off his spot. There was no pressure on him at all with Pittsburgh. Was that their offensive line, or was it Pittsburgh's scheme? How was he able to just pick apart that defense without ever getting off that spot?
Well, I think in watching that Texans game, those guys coming off the bye, they didn't quite look as sharp as you normally expect out of a New England team. And you just had the sense throughout the course of that game, they get it under control, they win the game. It didn't really matter who was going there this past week. They were going to be on top of their game. Tom was going to play extremely well because you just don't see those guys go out and have back-to-back poor performances. So I'm sure they had a great week of preparation and, really locked in on the plan, and that was to protect Tom, keep his feet clean, and let him make all of his throws.
You mentioned Matt Ryan. There's some weapons there. You know, they got Julio, but they also have 2 really good running backs. Mohamed Sanu had they got other guys to throw to as well. It feels like that's an offense that can score, but again, some of the statistics point to New England being the best defense in football. And when we've seen this before, we saw the Broncos go against the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. The best defense always beats the best offense. What are your thoughts on the Super Bowl?
Well, it'll be interesting because historically in Bill Belichick's defense, they've always taken away what you do best. And obviously for the Atlanta Falcons, that's Julio Jones. But as you just mentioned, there's so many other guys, the two running backs, Mohamed Sanu, Gabriel. At what point do you decide that, look, we can't focus all of our attention on Julio Jones because there's so many other guys that can beat us as well. So I think that's the most interesting matchup to watch coming up next week.
Going in, who do you think's going to win?
I'm going with New England. Why? Because of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady.
Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. That's a pretty sound argument. Antonio Brown, Facebook Live from the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have and Mike Zimmer does not parse words, right? He comes straight ahead,
Right.
doesn't care.
Yeah.
What do you guys? You were soft. I can't remember how he called you soft, but there was something in the Philadelphia game he called you guys super soft. Anyway, just kind of that's who Zimmer is.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a phone rule? Does everybody have to turn their phones off or
No. And we have all of our team cameras in there, but I guess that's not live. And I don't know that Zim would really care.
Were you in the locker room during the Shanko incident?
I was not, but that was an incident.
Yeah, that
live
was
on Fox.
Right, live on Fox. So that was everybody. It was kind of like the shoe bomber incident. We always bring up the shoe bomber guy because one guy tried to put a bomb inside of his shoe. Now everybody has to take off their shoes anytime they fly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shanko and Little Shanko came out to play on Fox, and now everybody has to be aware of. Everybody has to be relatively aware that there are cameras in the locker room.
Correct.
But do you they kind of slapped him on the wrist, and then Ben said the game was too big for some people. How does that resonate at all? Is there any kind of shrapnel to still pick out after you lose when Antonio Brown has Facebook Live in the locker room?
No, and I think that's something he mentioned in his press conference. He was excited about the win. He wanted to engage with the fans, and
he's getting paid too. He had to deal with Facebook Live.
Right. I mean, so looking back at it, probably not the best thing. Probably should have waited for Mike Tomlin to talk and then bust out the Facebook Live. Would have been completely fine, and we would have never heard about the story.